The Glazers want to knock down Old Trafford, Manchester United want Harry Kane in the summer, and let's have a look at Ralph Rangnick's quotes before the big game tonight. This is the news. Hello, welcome to Stretford Paddock. My name is Joe. This is the news for Tuesday, the 15th of March. Big game coming up tonight. We'll have all the coverage of that with Jay on the watch along. Make sure you check that out. But before that, it's time for the news. And some big news has come out over the last few hours. We're going to be looking at the Glazers wanting to knock down Old Trafford potentially. Get your thoughts in on that in the comments. We'll also be looking at Harry Kane. Manchester United reportedly ready to go in for Harry Kane once more this summer. And we'll also be looking a little bit at Ralph Rangnick's quotes before the big game, the embargoed quotes from last night. Let's just get straight into it. This is from The Guardian. It's been reported all over. There's obviously been some sort of briefing, some sort of information that has been leaked or revealed by Old Trafford hierarchy. And this is Manchester United consider demolishing Old Trafford as part of a revamp. Manchester United are considering all options with regard to updating Old Trafford, including knocking down the stadium and building a new one on the same site. While the bulldozing of the stadium would be unpopular with a sizable proportion of the fans, we'll get into that in a second, this is understood to be the least likely choice at the current juncture, with one significant obstacle being where the team would play their home games while the new venue was under construction. Let's see if we can ask Manchester City for one of their training grounds, or the grounds for the women's team, or any of the multitude of grounds that they've built because they actually want to look after a full club. Let's see if we can use one of those grounds in the meantime. Go across the road and ask them if, all the good work you've been doing for the last 15 years, can we borrow some of that, please? Although I don't imagine they'll do that. We would have to find somewhere else to play, which again would be difficult. Other options may include raising and rebuilding Old Trafford's South Stand or undertaking a complete revamp of the existing structure. Given the large footprint of the site, whatever the choice is made by the club's wider vision may be to position the stadium as the centre of a cultural and community hub, similar to Tottenham's Hotspur Stadium, which opened 3 years ago and cost around £1 billion. United executives are in the process of fielding different ideas from companies who would tender to carry out any work on a venue that was first built in 1910. We get that. Until a master planner is appointed, no concrete decision will be made, with the club having committed to consulting with supporters throughout the process. And this is quite important here. No notable modernisation of Old Trafford occurred since Malcolm Glazer bought the club in 2005. The increased capacity to 75,000 via the quadrants built in 2006 was approved before the now deceased American became the proprietor. Anyone who's been going to Old Trafford or watching Man United or anything, following Manchester United for the last 15 years, know how little the Glazers have done to the stadium. It's very much a let's fix it now, it's broken type thing. It's never a let's look ahead, let's have the best stadium in the country. We're resting on the laurels of the fact that we've got the biggest club stadium in England and allowing it basically to run down. Every year they put a lick of paint on some parts of it. There's still parts of the corners that are covered in rust, and black mould and all sorts of shit going on. There was holes in the roof a couple of years ago. When there's a hole in the roof, they fix it. Otherwise, as you were, anyone who's been to that stadium knows there's less legroom than anywhere else. It's smaller. Everything's just tighter and more cramped than most modern stadiums. And some of that's a good thing. I'm someone who's 6'4". I don't mind being sat in a slightly cramped seat for the sake of having more people in a smaller area, creating that atmosphere, creating that intensity inside the stadium. I don't necessarily mind that. But when you compare it to modern stadiums, it's severely lacking. Even the front, the facade of the front, that sort of green glass, that very early 2000s look to all of it. The whole stadium looks like it was last done up in the early 2000s, which it was. It doesn't feel modern. It doesn't feel up to date. It doesn't feel certainly not futuristic or, ahead of its time or, looking forward. It's very much being dragged along 20 years behind everything else. And let's talk about the fans' opinion on this then, because obviously a lot of people saying fans wouldn't stand for this. This would be a disgrace. We can't knock down Old Trafford. There seems to be a relatively vocal, maybe minority, maybe not, that wouldn't be too perturbed by this. Jay Motti from obviously this channel being one of them, he said yesterday that he wouldn't necessarily mind getting a fantastic new modern state-of-the-art stadium that made sense and was fit for purpose for what is the biggest team in the world, And obviously, you don't lose the history just because you lose the stadium. None of the players from the 60s play for United anymore, but you don't forget who they were, what they did, and what they achieved for Manchester United. Just because you're not playing in the same room, essentially, doesn't mean that any of those memories are lost. And I do kind of understand that. Me personally, I would like to see spend £1 billion on making Old Trafford the best stadium in the world. And we could do that. That's doable. These things can be done. The whole thing about going over the train line, I think Stephen Allison's mentioned it a few times. A, if you wanted to go over the train line, is very doable these days with modern technology. And B, you wouldn't necessarily even have to. You could just go up. So there's a lot of things that, you know, United could do that they don't seem to want to do. And I wonder if how much of this is, you know, posturing to the fans. Oh, look, we're getting consultants in. These things are probably 10, 15 years down the line, if they're even in the pipeline. The Glazers maybe want to make United fans slightly less pissed off than they were a couple of summers ago, as we hear rumours of the Super League cropping back up. Now's the time that these sorts of things come to fruition. Doesn't necessarily surprise me. Let's move on then to Harry Kane, and this is coming from the Mirror. John Cross and David McDonald, their chief football writer and sports journalist, giving a supposed exclusive in the Mirror this morning. They are talking about the fact that Manchester United are considering making a fresh summer move for Tottenham striker Harry Kane, and that could mean a potential link-up with Kane and former Spurs boss Mauricio Pochettino at Old Trafford. United are watching developments closely as rivals Man City's number one target priority is Borussia Dortmund striker Erling Haaland. Now, how much of this article is Manchester United really want Harry Kane and we know it? That's possible. But how much of this article is United probably want Pochettino? Pochettino, we know, likes Harry Kane. Manchester City, who last season it looked like Harry Kane was going to go to, now want someone else. Therefore, Harry Kane is available for a team that need a striker. You can make your own minds up on that. Let me know what your thoughts on that are in the comments below. It's one that's going to be, you know, rolling on throughout the summer, isn't it? United need a striker because Ronaldo's 37, Cavani's leaving. We all know the situation with Mason Greenwood, and Martial looks like he's out the door as well. United need at least one striker this summer. Is Harry Kane the man to do it? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And let's move on then to some of the quotes from the embargoed press conference that we saw last night. These are from Ralph Rangnick, talking about Antonio Conte after the Spurs game. He said, "This is what Antonio Conte said after the game. It was a very difficult atmosphere. As I said, it's one of the biggest compliments that you can get if an opponent's coach speaks after the game of a difficult atmosphere, a special atmosphere." That's Old Trafford for you. And he also says, obviously, it would not have been good to play. It would not have been too bad to play Friday ourselves, talking about how Atletico Madrid played their last game on Friday. He said, but it's not that much of a problem for us. I don't think it will make any difference for tomorrow's game. So not giving any excuses whatsoever there, which is what you can expect, really, isn't it, from Ralph Rangnick? Doesn't tend to wallow in self-pity or any of that sort of stuff like we've seen previous managers do sometimes. That was a dig at Jose, by the way, not Ole. Rangnick also said, talking about the first leg, he said, we played into their hands by playing the ball too slow, passing the ball too slow, too many square passes, short passes, so we sent a lot of pressing invitations to their midfield players. And we saw that in the first leg, didn't we? The amount of times Paul Pogba got pressed off the ball, the amount of times, you know, Bruno Fernandes got pressed off the ball. We could not get our passing and playing going, largely because of that press. And Ralph Rangnick there is blaming United players for that, saying we were too slow. It wasn't that they pressed us really well. It's that we allowed them to press us by passing too slowly, too many square passes and short passes. I like that. Taking credit and taking blame for what you know, was a difficult first leg in Madrid. Hopefully United can come through it tonight. Let us know your score predictions in the comments as well. Let me know your thoughts on all of these stories. Obviously, the big one, Manchester United are willing to potentially demolish Old Trafford in order to build a new stadium over the next few years. Do you think it's going to happen? Do you want it to happen? Or is this all just a smokescreen because Real Madrid, Juventus and Barcelona are talking about the Super League again and saying that all those clubs that signed the contract 2 years ago are still bound by that contract? Let me know your thoughts below. Hit subscribe if you aren't already. This has been the news. We'll see you in a bit.